Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Anne and today I'm going to talk about 10 books written by Black authors that I am excited to read. Right now the Black Lives Matter hashtag is no longer trending on Twitter and people have been talking about it a lot less on Twitter and Instagram and everywhere. And I think it's important to remember that Black lives still matter even if the hashtag isn't there anymore, and we should all do our best to be anti-racist and to be good allies. So that includes signing petitions, donating, going to protests, but also just educating yourself. Reading books by Black authors so that we give off a sign to the publishing industry that we want to read books by Black authors. The publishing industry, like so many other industries, is very dominated by white voices and white people making the choices, and that should change. People have been talking about things going back to normal on the internet and in life, but I think that things shouldn't go back to normal because normal was racist, and we need to keep working to ensure that racism is eradicated. And that won't happen overnight, unfortunately, but it is our duty, and mostly as white people, it is our duty to solve this problem. White people have created this problem, so we need to get rid of it as well. And that's institutionalized racism, everyday racism, microaggressions. We need to be aware of the problems we've created as white people and we need to solve them. We need to make sure that no more Black people are killed by police officers, and we need to make sure that police brutality is eradicated completely, and that there will be severe consequences for people and police officers who do those horrific things, who murder other people, other human beings. And this is not a political issue, it's a human rights issue, and we should all be aware of it. So in this video I want to try and uplift some Black voices. I'm going to talk about books I haven't read yet, because last week on my blog I wrote a blog post on 10 books by Black authors that I would recommend to anyone. Those were all books that I have read and enjoyed, and I really want other people to read as well. So if you want to see what books I picked, I will leave a link down in the description, but I don't really like to recycle content from my blog on here. So I decided to this week make a list of books by Black authors that I still want to read. This is a combination of books that have been on my TBR for a while and books that I have come across over the past 2 weeks, because Instagram has been full of great recommendations of books by Black authors, and I have been paying attention and I have come across a lot of books that sound really cool. So today I'm just going to talk about 10 of those books. My list was a lot longer, but I figured that I wanted to keep this video kind of short, so here it is. The first book I'm really excited to read is a book that has come out only a few weeks ago, and that is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. I've seen this book everywhere on Twitter and Instagram, and everyone seems to be raving about it, so I'm excited to read it. The story is about Liz, who lives in a small Midwestern town and really doesn't feel comfortable living there. She feels like she doesn't fit in, like she's too Black, too poor, things like that to live there, but she has dreams. She wants to go to an elite college and she wants to play in their famous orchestra, and then she wants to become a doctor. But then unfortunately her financial aid falls through and Liz has to find a new way to still be able to attend Pennington College, and then she remembers that her school offers a scholarship to the prom king and the prom queen. So in order to still be able to fulfill her dreams, Liz decides that she wants to become prom queen, even though she has a big fear of appearing in the spotlight. This sounds like a really fun YA novel, and I've actually come across it on my audiobook app, which is a Dutch audiobook app called Storytel. No spawn. So as soon as I finish the book I'm currently reading, which is Felix Ever After, also a great recommendation when it comes to books by Black authors, I will probably start listening to You Should See Me in a Crown. The next book by a Black author that I really want to read and want to get to soon is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. This is a book that follows the stories of 12 different people, most of them Black women, and it is set to celebrate modern Britain and Black womanhood. I think most people will know about this book. It won the Man Booker Prize last year, making Bernardine Evaristo the first Black woman to ever win the Man Booker. But, and here's the part that makes me angry, she had to share it with Margaret Atwood for The Testament. And dual winners are very unusual for the Man Booker Prize and even explicitly against the rules. But for some reason the jury thought it would be a good idea for this Black woman to have to share it with a white woman. So not only did she have to share the prize money with Margaret Atwood, but most of the attention went to the fact that these women won the prize together. So instead of celebrating the victory of a black woman, people were talking about something completely different. And it made me really angry, and it still does. And seems like racism to me, because apparently the jury just couldn't choose to celebrate and honor a black woman on her own for her achievements. The next book I really want to read is The Weight of the Stars by Kay Ancram, which comes highly recommended by Kayla from Books and Lala, which is always a good thing if you ask me. This is a sci-fi contemporary type novel, and I am really into sci-fi stuff lately, so this seems perfect. It's about two girls, Ryan and Alexandria, and Ryan dreams of becoming an astronaut and having a space career, but she lives in a trailer park and she's from the wrong side of town, so she figures that will never happen. And Alexandria is the daughter of an astronaut who chose to voluntarily make a one-way trip to the other end of the solar system. And every night Alexandria waits to catch radio signals from her mother. And for some reason these two girls are thrown together and have to spend time together, and this blossoms into a friendship and even something more. So it's a slow burn, sci-fi, romance, contemporary type thing, and I am entirely here for it. The fourth book I'm mentioning is actually a trilogy, and it's the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I have seen this trilogy around a lot lately, but up until last week or so I had no idea that it was actually written by a black author and that it features loads of queer characters. And it's another sci-fi type novel, but it's also dystopian and a little fantasy-ish, I think. I don't really know that much about this because it sounds like the world building is pretty complex. The story is set on a planet that every few centuries experiences something called the fifth season, which coincidentally is also the name of the first book. And during this fifth season, the inhabitants and the planet endures some type of catastrophic climate change. There are people with special abilities as well, and I think there's much more to it, but this is all I know for sure. And it sounds really interesting, and I have heard nothing but great things about these books, so I'm really interested in reading this. Book number 5 is Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown, which came out earlier this year, and it features a main character who is also called Echo Brown, and she lives on the east side where apartments are small and parents suffer addictions to the white rocks, the synopsis says. The synopsis also says that there is magic everywhere and that portals start to show up when Echo transfers to a more prestigious school on the west side. And I'm not too sure what that all means with the portals and the magic, but it sounds really good and I'm really intrigued, and apparently it's very autobiographical but also infused with magical realism, and that sounds like something that's right up my alley. So I'm really excited to read this. Book number 6 is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, which is about Xiomara, who is a high school girl who discovers slam poetry. And she kind of uses slam poetry as a way to understand her mother's religion and her relationship to the world. She's invited to join the high school slam poetry club, but she's not sure if she should do that because she doesn't think her mother will approve. But she also really feels the urge to have her voice heard and to no longer be silenced. And the author of this is a slam poet herself, and she also narrates the audiobook herself, so that seems like a really fun experience. Next up, we've got Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds, which is a debut novel that involves time travel. It's about Jack and Kate who fall in love with each other, but then Kate dies. And somehow Kate's death sends Jack back to the beginning of their relationship, and Kate's there and she is alive, and Jack is kind of forced to believe in time travel. But of course time travel has consequences, so even though Kate is now alive again, other things start to go wrong, and that's all I know about it, but it sounds intriguing and I always like a good time travel story, so I'm excited to read this. Which I've said about all of these books, but it's true, I really want to read all of these, otherwise I wouldn't have made this video. Book number 8 is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. This is about a boy who has to come to terms with his mixed race gay identity, and then he goes to college and he kind of discovers drag, and he becomes a drag artist called The Black Flamingo. It's described as a bold story about embracing your own uniqueness, which sounds really good, and my audiobook app has the audiobook for this as well, so I hope to listen to it pretty soon. Book number 9 is Pride by Ibi Zoboi. I've seen this book around a lot, and it has been on my audiobook app TBR for a long time as well, but I kind of forgot about it. This is a Pride and Prejudice retelling set in contemporary Brooklyn, New York. And the characters are all people of color, and it deals with more contemporary problems as well as the problems we saw in Pride and Prejudice itself already. So this sounds really good. I don't think I've ever read a Pride and Prejudice retelling, or not one I can now remember, but I'm definitely looking forward to this one as well. The last book on my list is actually a Dutch book, so this is not that interesting for anyone who doesn't speak Dutch, but I want to talk about it anyway. And the book is Hallo Witte Mensen by Anousha Nzume. Hallo Witte Mensen translates to Hello White People, and this is a book about racism and white privilege in the Netherlands. I've heard a lot of good things about this, and I think I will learn a lot from it. I've seen a lot of books around about racism in America and racism in Britain. I'm currently reading Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race, which is about racism and white privilege in Britain. But I figured it would be important for me as a Dutch person to read about this problem in my own country, which is why I picked this up. And I wanted to mention it here for any and all Dutch people who are watching who also want to educate themselves further. I can't recommend this yet because I haven't read it yet, but I have heard very good things about it, so I think it's definitely worth looking into. So that's it for my list and for my video. I hope you have found some books that seem interesting to you as well. Please, in a comment down below, leave me a recommendation for another book by a Black author that I might really enjoy. And give this video a like if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of me. I'm also going to leave a link to ways to help the Black Lives Matter movement in the description down below. So you can check that out and maybe sign some petitions or donate money if you can. So it would be really good if you check that out. And that's it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!